What's up, guys? I felt a little bit bad because I didn't do an actual edited video last weekend. So I'm gonna do a full video of us actually getting the car or getting the truck ready for a little bit more testing this weekend, as well as prepping it for a pretty big change. We're gonna be changing the motor out to the motor that we prepped for the Civic. We're gonna put that into the truck this weekend. So, first things first, this garage is a disaster. We got a whole bunch of crap laying around, all the parts from the Civic. There's not a whole lot of room to work. So gonna get this place cleaned up so that we can actually work on it. And first thing that we're gonna do is get the fuel system cleaned out and ready to go. We tested it the other day and it did good while we were at the track. I did a little bit more street driving on it, and we made a street hit or two, and the filter's clogged once again. Really bad this time too. So there's obviously a lot of crap still in the tank. I think it loosened everything up when we went to the track and actually started launching it, because we hadn't really had anything but street driving since then. So that's number one on the agenda to do. The other thing that we have going on is those small filters that I've been using. They just have little disc elements in them. And what we're changing to now is a much bigger filter that has a canister element in it. Tons more surface area in there. So putting those in there, it's gonna help us with two things. One, flow. The other is also the amount of time, I guess, we can run on it, even if we have debris in the tank, before they clog up and actually start affecting the way that the car runs. So that's pretty huge. If we're trying to get through a race, we don't wanna be clogging up the filters if we still have a little bit of debris left in there. But hopefully we don't get any more debris in there. Once we clean it out, we now have a filter on the vent of the tank. So hopefully we won't be sucking in any more crap from outside. All right, see those big grains of sand right there, and then all up on the back of the tank, you see that pattern? All of that has settled at the bottom of the tank. That's the sand that I keep getting in my filters. And now I'm pretty sure this problem's gonna go away as soon as I get all of that out of the tank first. So we're gonna drain all the fuel out, wipe it all down on the inside. And shouldn't happen anymore, because I think that sand came from when we had this line. This vent tube didn't have a filter on it previously. So I think it was literally the air was going across the end of that tube at just the right way that it was actually bringing in whatever was outside. And the weekend that the sand started being in my filters was when it was pretty sandy on the road. We were up in Greeley, had a ton of it in the engine bay. So that shit's just blowing around and it's going in as it goes by that line. So as you can see, that's what we're dealing with. I gotta get all of that crap out of there and then put the new fuel filter in. And we should be good to go from that point. I mean, maybe I'm gonna miss some of that stuff and it'll end up in the new filter, but that's fine. I mean, that's what it's there for. We'll probably, I don't think there's not gonna be enough sand in there to where it'll fill the big filter. That one's got a lot of surface area for that screen. So I think we'll be able to go on that one for a while. I'll take it out after a while and take a look at it, see if we've caught any more, but hopefully this is problem solved. After we get that sand out of there, got a filter on the vent line now. Shouldn't be bringing any more garbage anymore. I did test just to make sure that the sand wasn't coming from the fuel itself. So I filled up my jug, last Friday, and didn't put it into the car yet. And we filtered out a bunch of that jug, probably half of it, and there wasn't a speck of dirt in there. So the fuel coming from the gas station is clean. The problem was happening in here, and everything points to that stupid vent line bringing in dirt. So we'll get to draining all that out and cleaning all of it out, and then hopefully we can put that fuel filter in and we should be good to go. Tanya's getting in there real deep black. There was a ton of standing dirt and sand in there, particularly sand. I mean, this wasn't just like, I know a lot of people are gonna say, some people still think there's a myth of, E85 eats the lines and everything, blah, blah, blah. That's not the case here. There's flat out sand in our tank from the road. Got all the fuel drained out. This tank holds a crap ton of fuel. This is, we went to the track and I drove around a little bit last weekend, and there was still right at 15 gallons in there. So I think it holds like 20 gallons when I fill it to not even all the way up to the top. A friend of ours, Randy, just got a injector cleaning machine. So we're gonna take the old 1200s over there to get cleaned. They haven't been cleaned in about 2.5 years. So it's probably about time. Actually, I cleaned it once, but it was like a ghetto clean. I just used brake clean and pulsed them a couple of times. So yeah, probably not balanced, probably not very clean. So we're gonna get them properly cleaned up and back in the truck, turn the fuel pressure up to about 60 PSI. And that is the setup that we are going to run from here till the no prep race weekend. I was trying to use my sweet wand, but she wouldn't let me. She's just getting in there elbow deep.
Don't you feel in that, you fucker?
No.
Okay.
Not where I'm rubbing it. I mean, there may be a little bit.
All right, we're
It's
good.
relatively clean. Clean?
Clean.
Nice. All right, so we got all the fuel and sand and crap drained out of the truck. And our friend Randy with the heap, he just bought a injector cleaner setup and tester and everything. And so we're giving the injectors from the original injectors that we put into the truck. So these have been sitting for a while. We tested out the Snake Eater 210 pounders. Those went well, but we have a long drive that we're getting ready to do on for no prep weekend. And so we want the injectors that I guess drive and idle the best as well on pump gas. So that's the problem. The 210 pounders actually work pretty good and they idle good, they drive well and everything, but we're gonna have to make these trips on pump gas. So in between the tracks, you know, I don't know if the 210 pounders would pulse low enough to drive nicely on the pump gas. So we're giving these a try. Problem is I haven't cleaned them in 2.5 years. So we're testing them out. They actually flowed pretty equal to each other, but the pulse width was really shitty. Like when we started getting to a higher pressure and lowered the pulse width down, I mean, it was only about 2.2 that it started messing up. So that's not really that great, especially if we want to run these things at 60 PSI, we're gonna have to do a lower pulse width than that at idle. It'll probably be at like 1.5. So if they're gonna be shutting off and not really pulsing all that great, it's gonna idle like crap, it's gonna run like garbage. So we're gonna clean them out and see if they do any better. We're kind of fumbling through it because we don't know what the hell we're doing with this, but it's, I mean, it's pretty straightforward actually. It's gone pretty good so far. Once we get it to drain. Yeah, and some hardware store washers to be our little stops there. So yeah, we're gonna run these through. We already ran one set through, but before we test those, we're gonna clean off the other set. See how it does in a cleaner state, hopefully. So this
There's no
is
variables.
the exact same test. I'm running out of battery here, so hopefully I can get this done quickly. But last time we tested this exact same test, it's consistent. Our fluid level was at like 75, somewhere around here. We put them through the cleaner, and now they're up at what, like 100 and, yeah, just below 105 or something like that. A huge difference. Like that's, I mean, I knew they would be good. I knew they would improve it, but I didn't think these were that dirty. They were dirty. Consistently dirty, but dirty as shit. So that's, yeah, that's pretty crazy. Clean your injectors, people. So the first set went perfect. Everything was like even across the board. I think we just got super lucky. The second set that we did, they were a little bit uneven, so we changed a couple of filters out of the top hats. Then we put a couple of them back into the cleaner. So we're hoping that this final test, everything is even, so.
Looks better.
Yeah, look even at least.
Still that one's higher.
Yeah, overachiever. Oh, yeah. Dang it. I don't know what we can do to get those better. So we're still a little bit off there. This one over here is just performing so much better than the other three. These three we changed filters out on and we re-cleaned them. If we can't get it to come around, then I would actually just, whatever holes those go into, I would do an injector compensation to match the other ones. So we'll try to get a rough idea of the percentage difference between the two and just apply it in the ECU. If anybody else has got any tips, because we're new to this, let me know. So, like you saw, we got the injectors all cleaned up as best we could anyway. Now we're back at my house and we're gonna start tearing things apart. So I got the truck sitting in the garage, Civic motor over here, and I'm just gonna start taking shit apart. We're probably not gonna get through all of it today, but I'm gonna try to get it as bare as possible so that tomorrow a couple of guys are coming over to help out and just hang out. We're gonna have a little barbecue and get it completely swapped over tomorrow. That's the goal. So I'm gonna try to get as much done as I can today so that tomorrow can be kind of relaxed, because you know, we don't want to be in a rush, kind of just want to hang out and stuff. One thing that I do need to do after we get it all done is I gotta make a bracket of some sort for the new fuel filter. So this used to be way up here. It used to go directly into that, and then had the two filters on each of these, and then the lines came into the filters. Now we have this one big filter, so I'm gonna make just a little bit of brace for this. It's a bit, I mean, even if I reattach that, it still seems like a decently far span. So we're gonna make a little bit of a brace for that, just so that I can kind of sit on it if it ever moves around a little bit, and then anchor this down like it used to be. Yeah, we'll get started on tearing this thing down. It actually comes apart pretty decent, so shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, let's get started. So it's the next day. We got a decent amount taken off the car just last night. Only worked on it for a little while. Just wanted to get a head start on it for today. The water that's in these intercooler lines is really old, and therefore it smells like absolute garbage because I'm lazy and I never change it out. So to avoid having that water anywhere in this garage, we just put a stool next to it, and I kept the lines connected and I just rotated it over there. Little tiny bit leaked out, squeaked out of there because we don't have clamps on these, but for the most part it did the trick. And we should be able to get, I don't think that'll interfere at all. We should be able to get the engine out without that mattering at all. So a couple more things to take off. We drained the coolant out of the engine. There's probably still a little bit in there, but got to take the hoses off, the water pump off, and then yeah, start chaining this thing up and getting it ready to come out, and then start taking the transmission bolts out. We will get to it. So this is why I don't look at things, because then I see problems that need to be fixed. But just so everybody's aware, you don't really have to fix this problem, because that motor still runs, and it was dealing with this awful looking, let's see if it'll do it. Will it do it? Focus, you piece of shit. I don't know if you can see it. I see those two cracks right there, one right there, one right there. So that was why we always had like fluctuating oil pressure. I figured it was something with the O-ring, but I didn't know it was like cracked like that. I mean, look, this is basically gonna, yep, there we go, it's broke. We're gonna put a new O-ring in this one. I'm gonna put the new motor in there because we have that new oil pan from the Civic build. Has a brand new O-ring in it. I have to use this pickup tube, but we're gonna obviously use the new O-ring, so. Awesome. That's the only thing, other than that, I mean, obviously, well, all we did was take the oil pan off. I don't see anything, there's not metal shavings or anything like that. Probably still run good when we put it back in.
You know, that blue Ingersoll Ram I got.
Were they properly
lazy.
spec
Not even close.
No.
I probably could have taken half
I mean,
of them
two
out.
of them were probably good, right?
I'll give you 4.
I did see like
Four.
2 of them were
Nice.
actually had
Yeah, you have to warm it up.
It's
You have to turn the grill back
it's a little
on.
tight in there, so I may not have tightened. Actually, I just suck at working on cars, so. We swapped a couple of sensors just because we knew they worked in here. We couldn't get the oil pressure sensor out, so I hope that one works. But we swapped the trigger so that we know at least that's not going to bite us in the ass, and it's really hard to get to when it's in the car, so they suggested a very good idea of switching it out now. So I gotta play a little musical chairs with motors, and then we'll get the new one ready to go in. Ta-da! All done with the help of everybody. Oscar, Carrie, Anthony, Tiny. Yeah, it actually went pretty quick once we got going. Had a couple of hang-ups, but for the most part, it's actually still relatively quiet. I don't really notice a whole lot of a difference, but everybody else said that it sounded different. The only thing that I noticed is that there's no ticking whatsoever, which is weird to me. While it was running, we did notice that there was a little bit of a leak. We think that front cover is a little bit misaligned. I think it's too low right now. And so it's allowing a little bit of oil to seep out from the crank pulley seal. So we put that on when we didn't have the crank pulley on there. So I'm thinking that's the reason why we're so far off. So I'm gonna try to just loosen up the bolts, and hopefully it'll center itself, and then tighten them back up. And hopefully that's all we need to do. Really don't want to take off the oil pan, but it was leaking a little bit from the oil pan as well. I'm hoping that that's just because it doesn't have a good alignment with the front cover, because the oil pan does go up to the front cover. The engine seems to be healthy so far. Again, we've only idled it, but yeah, I don't know. I'll fiddle with that a little bit, and then we'll start it up. Show you how it sounds. All right, had to wrap up a couple of things, but we are ready to start it up and go for a drive. Tiny wants some wings, so I'm gonna go grab them as the test drive. So that went pretty smooth. The only thing that we're gonna check, I mean, it drove there fine. It wasn't ticking its ass off. I mean, it was pretty uneventful. I even got on it a little bit, so Tiny's gonna kill me.
Jesus Christ.
So some of the fries may or may not have flown out the bag when I did test it.
Did you pick them up off the floor?
I'll put them back in.
5 second rule.
Yeah, anything that didn't touch a surface that had a bunch of metal flake on it, I kept back in there.
Oh, we get some metal tonight.
So yeah, everything went well. I put a couple of paper towels underneath the area that we were kind of worried about an oil leak. The front seal was giving us some trouble. So I put something under there. I didn't see it leaking when we let it heat cycle up before I left. So I think we're gonna be okay. If anything, it's gonna be a minor seepage, and it's something to put on the list, you know, if we can get it done before the race, awesome, but it's not gonna stop us from testing. So that will probably be the next video that you see. We're gonna go to the track this weekend, get Tanya some more time on it, make sure this motor is good, although I just beat it relatively hard. I mean, it survived one pull, it should survive 50 or 100. So we'll see how it goes, but yeah, I call it a success overall. Engine's doing good. So as usual, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because we are going live every now and then. It's not really a set schedule anymore. So make sure you have the notification bell clicked on so that you get a notification when we do go live. So yeah, we'll see you next time when we beat it up some more at the track. See you then.
Oh!
I'm not gonna use that part, I'm only using it for...
She's going with this.
Totally using it.